One of the most common problems I hear when talking to people nowadays, and I'm sure you do too, is the problem of feeling chronically tired. If you feel like no matter how much you sleep, you're exhausted all the time and you're dragging this invisible weight with you, you're not alone. In fact, behind closed doors, more and more people are Googling the question, why am I exhausted all the time? And you're fighting your tiredness with things that our society is advertising against it. You're probably drinking a lot of coffee, maybe sugary drinks, energy drinks, and maybe you've even tried caffeine tablets. But none of it seemed to work because you're only fighting symptoms and not solving the core issue. This constant lack of energy throughout the day and this chronic tiredness is something that you would maybe expect when you're 60, 70, or 80 years old, but not in your 20s or 30s. Even 15-year-olds can sometimes barely make it out of bed in the morning, and that is not normal. And when you talk to older people, they sometimes say things like, yeah, you're young, you have a lot of energy, but you just can't relate because you feel exhausted without even having done anything. And me personally, I know exactly how those conversations feel because I've been there. I always wondered, how should I reach my goals? How should I be ambitious? How should I plan my future? How should I start a side hustle? How should I be a good partner? How should I be productive? If it's already a challenge to get out of bed in the mornings. At one point, I decided to dive deep, do research to find out what the actual problem is. And what I learned by educating myself and also doing a lot of self-experimentation was that the answer was hidden in plain sight all along. Because it's about getting the basics right that everyone keeps talking about, and that is sleep, nutrition, and exercise. Now, you might be tempted to click away from this video because you already know this. But this is exactly the reason why you're still tired right now watching this video. So bear with me, because this was the same mistake that I always did. I was treating the basics like a mere checklist, like yes I sleep, yes I exercise, and yes I don't eat a lot of junk food. I thought that this was everything that needed to be done, so I skipped the basics and went right to the fancy specifics. And that is actually what most people do. They start thinking that they maybe have an iron deficiency or gluten sensitivity, or they start buying one of those red light glasses to block out the blue light in the evenings. Once I understood that there is no magic pill to give me a quick fix, I actually revisit the basics to really nail them, and this is when everything changed. In this video, I want to go through what I implemented into my life that actually gave me this consistent energy that a 20 or 30-year-old should naturally have. My name is Simon and I'm an accountability partner. I help people to define and reach their goals by implementing systems and tools to hold them accountable. If you're struggling to reach your goals, then something is blocking you. If that is a lack of energy, lack of motivation, lack of consistency, most people actually don't even know what's blocking them. The first step to start chasing your goals is to identify what is currently blocking you. And for exactly that reason, I created a self-assessment test to find out what's blocking you and how to fix it. Find the link to the test below this video. It only takes 5 minutes and let me know your results. Also, subscribe to my channel for weekly videos. Now let's dive into the first basic that we need to get right in order to not feel chronically tired, which is to really nail your sleep. If you currently feel like no matter how much you sleep, you always wake up tired, then the issue is that you're not getting the sleep that actually is restoring your energy. What you want is this sweet, deep, and high quality sleep instead of the cheap and discounted and light and interrupted sleep that you're currently getting. The duration of your sleep is one thing, but then the quality of your sleep is another. So what we need to do is increase the quality of your sleep. And there are some simple steps that you can do today in order to do exactly that. One very important thing is to start taking control over the caffeinated drinks that you're taking, like coffee, energy drinks, or other sugary drinks. And don't worry, we don't have to get rid of your morning coffee or even the coffee that you're having at 10 a.m. with your colleagues. However, the price of every coffee that you're having after lunch is probably worth paying for, and here's why. The reason for that is the half-life of coffee, which is about 5 to 7 hours, which means that if you drink your last cup of coffee at 3 p.m., half of the caffeine is still in your system by 10 a.m. and a quarter is still in your system by 3 a.m. And if you constantly have caffeine in your system when you're sleeping, you're not getting this high quality deep sleep, which means that you will wake up tired, you will drink again more coffee, and you will start this downward spiral. So the easy tip is to stop drinking coffee after lunch. A second important thing to get high quality sleep is to control darkness and light, especially before going to sleep. Light controls our circadian rhythm that tells us when it's day and when it's night. And staring at screens right before going to bed will tell our brain constantly that it's still daylight, which makes it harder for us to fall asleep. To fix this, either stop looking at screens right before going to bed and start reading a book instead, or at least start introducing the night shift function on your devices to switch off this blue screen light. Also, use blackout curtains in order to really improve the quality of your deep sleep. Another important tip that really helped me to improve the quality of my sleep was to give myself enough time to actually fall asleep. Most people need between 6 and 11 hours of sleep every night. And if you're unsure about how much sleep you need, you should start with 8. But the mistake that most people do is when they say that they need 8 hours of sleep, is that they say, okay, I go to bed at 11 and I wake up at 7. But what they don't take into account is the time that it actually takes to fall asleep. Because for me, I usually take 30 minutes in order to fall asleep, which means that if I want to get 8 hours of sleep, I need to go to bed at 10:30, give myself 30 minutes, and then when I sleep at 11 and wake up at 7, I have reached my 8 hours of sleep. If I were to go to bed at 11 and fall asleep at 11:30, that means I only get 7.5 hours, which means that I'm not getting as much sleep as I really need to. So give yourself enough time to fall asleep and go to bed a little bit earlier than you think you should. Now that we have nailed the first part of the basics, which is actually to get high quality sleep, we can look at the second part, which is to exercise daily. And maybe talking about exercise when you're chronically tired seems a little counterintuitive, because maybe you're thinking, yeah, but if I exercise, my body gets tired. But in fact, it's the other way around, because movement creates energy. And because it's simple and basic biology, it is true for every single human on Earth. Because exercise is increasing the blood flow, releasing endorphins, and stabilizing our circadian rhythm. And just to be clear, with exercise, I don't mean anything crazy like bodybuilding, running marathons, or something like that. It simply means movement. Because I've been going to the gym fairly consistently for the last 15 years, and I still feel tired. And that was because for the rest of the day, I was basically sitting on a desk. So the key for me was to really bring movement into my everyday life. The biggest game changer for me was actually to start moving right after I got up in the mornings. Because doesn't the idea of you starting your day with a light morning walk through nature or your neighborhood sound tempting? At least for me it did, so I started doing exactly that. Just put on some clothes, slide into your shoes, put a podcast or some music on your ears, and before having done anything else, go outside and walk for 15 to 20 minutes. And just this simple trick will wake you up more than any coffee ever could. Another tip to introduce movement into your life is to get a standing desk at work. Just standing at your desk instead of sitting will naturally increase the movement into your everyday life and will naturally give you more energy throughout the day. Another very simple rule that really helped me to increase the movement in my life was to move my body at least 1 minute per every hour. And it's as simple as setting an alarm that goes off every hour, and every time the alarm rings, you get up from your desk and you start moving for at least 1 minute. That could be taking a walk through the office, going quickly outside to get some fresh air, just a simple quick stretch. And if you're feeling ambitious, you can even do 3 to 5 minutes, and just doing that consistently will really improve your energy levels throughout the day as well. Now that we have improved the quality of our sleep and we have introduced movement into our everyday life, because that has a big impact on our energy levels as well. I want to keep the third and last point, being nutrition, a little bit shorter, not because it's not important, but because it's so individualistic. Because people have different preferences, people have different DNAs, so the same diet will not work for everyone. Generally speaking though, just be aware, because I never considered my diet to be bad. Until I realized that I was feeding mainly off carbs and sugary food, I was eating irregularly and sometimes even skipping meals. And all of this caused my insulin to spike and crash afterwards, which of course added to my constant tiredness. Generally, of course, you already know what's good for you, which is to reduce sugar, reduce the consumption of ultra-processed food, and drink a lot of water. Anything beyond that, you just have to find what's working best for you. And once you took control of your nutrition, you will have so much higher energy throughout the day as well. So next time you ask yourself this question, why am I constantly feeling tired? Just understand that you just have to get the basics right. You have to get good high quality sleep, you have to introduce movement into your life, and you have to get your nutrition right. When you nail those 3 things, I can promise you that your energy levels will be so much better than they currently are. And the great thing about that is that once your energy levels are back to being normal, you can actually start building the life that you love. I hope that this video has helped you. If it did, just comment below, subscribe to my channel, and see you in the next video.